Welcome, welcome to the Harmony Principle podcast. Today, we have for you my special guest, Kolleen Chesley, and she is committed to closing the $5 trillion power gap for women by helping them grow with clarity, strategy, and real support. Her Oops Baby from 20 years ago is now a thriving 501c3 that helps Gulf Coast women entrepreneurs work smarter, and build stronger businesses. She also guides women globally in hosting profitable transformational retreats that boost both impact and visibility. Welcome, Colleen. How are you today?
Oh my goodness, Kay. I'm doing amazing. I just want to say thank you so much for providing this opportunity. I love what you do, and your energy is so engaging. I'm glad I get to spend it's the end of the week for me. I don't know where it is for some of your viewers or you and your work schedule, but I love that I get to start today in your space. So thank you for providing this opportunity.
Great, great. It's awesome to have you. And yes, it's a wonderful way for us to start off Friday morning, getting into the weekend with some harmony. And so I'm just so happy that you were able to join me today and we get to have a chat and talk about all the juicy things that you do for women and business. So would you like to tell us a little bit about your Oops Baby?
Oh yeah, definitely. I love that. I love sharing that story. So yeah, I never had any natural children, but I had what I call an oops baby. And so this is this shorter version of the story. Of course, if we were here all day, I could tell you the long version, which is interesting and has a lot of experience and tidbits in it as well. But for the short story, I was a financial advisor. And I wasn't like a lot of my male colleagues. Of course, this is a male dominated industry. And back then, this was many years ago, I was much younger, of course, female in a male dominated industry. And I struggled finding clients. But what I did was I found networking. And I could go to a networking event and I could talk to people casually that would just randomly come up and talk to me because maybe I was engaging at that moment. And then I could talk about finances. And before long, all of a sudden, they would want to become my clients. They would want to meet with me. They would want to open up their literal, I used to call it a financial junk drawer, and share all their finance information with me. So networking just really helped, I think, me open up, but it also helped me get away from any fears I had around being salesy or being, approaching people about a difficult subject that maybe they really didn't want to talk about. So I was networking like a wild woman. I was at
Mhm.
every event. I was at every lunch and learn. I was at every, gala, or if it had ribbon cutting on it, I was there. So I did networking all the time and I loved it. And one night, literally overnight, there was a hurricane that was heading a little bit east of us. And overnight, it turned kind of like a spinning top. When a spinning top slows down and then all of a sudden it starts getting really erratic. Hurricanes
Mhm.
can do that when they get close to the coast. So it had kind of grabbed, I don't know, whatever foothold, and it turned and it nailed us literally
Oh,
overnight, one night in October. Yeah,
oh,
and it
wow.
caused billions and billions of dollars worth of property damage. People lost homes, people lost businesses. Our town was destroyed physically. But also what it did was it changed the landscape of how business was being done. And
Mhm.
quite honestly, it stopped all networking. Nobody was doing networkings. There were no ribbon cuttings. There were no galas. There was no lunch and learn anything. People were
Mhm.
struggling and trying to rebuild. So I was really scared and didn't know what I was going to do. And for the first time, I didn't know how I was going to find my clients. And I was
Mhm.
commission only, so I was under a lot of pressure and I didn't want to ask my male colleagues what to do. And so I went to a couple women that I really didn't even know that well, but I
Mhm.
thought, oh, these women have it going on and I'm going to figure out, what their secrets are. So I approached them. We went to lunch and I wanted to know what their secrets are. What are you doing? What's going on right now? How are you, how are you rebounding? And you know what happened, Kay? They were
Mhm.
just as stuck as I was. I was
Yes.
so convinced they were like, knew exactly what to do and they didn't. They were just as stuck and they were just as scared as I was. But what was really cool was they knew exactly what to tell me and
Mhm.
they knew what to tell each other. They just didn't know what to tell themselves. So we just went around the room
Yes.
and told each other what we needed to hear. And we
Hmm.
came out of that lunch like fired up and excited. And back then it was a paper calendar. I remember whipping out my paper calendar and saying, let's do this again. And they said,
Yes.
absolutely. How about a month from now? And we wrote it all in our calendar. And wouldn't you know, then when that month came, there were more women because, of course, I had told other women about what I was doing. Other women had
Hmm.
come to me who thought I had it going on. And I had to
Hmm.
tell them, no, I don't. But guess what?
Hmm.
Maybe there's other women that can help you. Come to this thing we're doing next month. And they started
Hmm.
coming, and more women started showing up. And I didn't know at that time that I had birthed what is now a 501c3 nonprofit, but that's exactly what happened. That one opportunity created now a community benefit organization that benefits women all across the Gulf Coast of Florida. And over the years, we've done conferences, we've done podcasts, we've done leadership classes, we've done charitable projects, we've done so much. We've expanded to different counties. And then, and that's all great news. But then during COVID, I realized the way we were doing it wasn't really supporting women in business. It was actually driving women in business closer to the things that were harming them in business. It
Hmm.
was actually holding them back. It was giving
Hmm.
them permission to work smaller, to think, or not work smaller, work harder. It was giving them permission to think smaller.
Hmm.
And I had to make the really tough decision at that time to burn that nonprofit to the ground and restart another nonprofit in its place. So now I run Powerful Women Collective, which has a similar mission, but it's now tweaked how we perform that
Hmm.
so that it really can help support women in business. But
I
the
love it.
hurricane that hit was in 2004. So over the
Hmm.
years, the original organization, Powerful Women of the Gulf Coast, really existed for a long time, helping women before we realized we didn't quite have it right. And so
Nice.
now, and just this last year, we're really getting into understanding what we can really do to help women, and we're really seeing big success stories already.
Nice, nice. I love it. I love it. I love the transition when you're seeing like we've been doing this great thing and it's been amazing, but wait, we can do it better. And then you tweak and you transform and you come out with such a beautiful, amazing, product when you keep changing. And that's one of the lessons that a lot of us have been around for a while, have been learning, watching all of the other companies like, you know, um, what is it, Blockbuster, not going into, being live streamed and all of those type of things and then disappearing because your business becomes obsolete if it's not moving forward and changing and adjusting with the times and being supportive of the people that use you. So I really love that you were able
Absolutely.
to do that with your organization and keep going. So yeah, so would you like to tell us a little bit more about that power gap and the money gap there and how your organization helps women move more in towards that area where they can grow their businesses in a way that isn't, like you said, just pushing more and harder and not actually doing the things that need to be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you made a really good point earlier too, Kay, about the fact that when you change, you really open up new opportunities. And I think a lot of us sometimes we get into this. I can be very stubborn and I'm like, I know exactly what I need to do. And it can be really difficult if I hit roadblocks to change. So
Mhm.
I love that you embraced that and that you pulled that out of my story because that's exactly when the transition really happened was when I knew I needed to change. And that's actually when I realized that there was this power gap. So what happened was it was COVID. And I don't
Mhm.
know what you were doing during COVID, but after running a nonprofit for 17 years, and when COVID hit, I think it might have been, maybe it was more than 16 years. My math is off. We just celebrated 20 years last year. So,
Congrats.
thank you. Yeah, however, we were, however many years running a nonprofit and then COVID hitting, I had a lot of free time. And
Hmm.
all of a sudden, I did a lot of fun activities. I, traveled and did a lot more stuff, but I also did a lot for the nonprofit. And I did a lot of research. So I started attending chamber events, not just local chamber events, but national chamber events, global chamber events. I started attending UN events about economic change and things that were happening globally. And I took, instead of micro focused on the Gulf Coast of Florida, I stepped back and really looked at the national and the global perspective of women in business. And I'd
Mm.
also made a little bit of a transition because my husband had realized that he wanted to expand his capacity, and in order to do that, that would require a move on our part. So we set up a second household in Las Vegas, literally 3 months before COVID hit. So we
Mm.
had two different households during COVID, and I had the flexibility of going to Las Vegas, working from Las Vegas, and then flying back to Pensacola and running the nonprofit while we needed to, and being able to be flexible in two different areas. I
Yeah.
also saw a huge perspective because in Las Vegas, they have something like 15 chambers of commerce. I come in Pensacola, I think we have one chamber, maybe two,
Yeah.
three, maybe three chambers of commerce right in our little area, and each one specializes. But in Las Vegas, there were at least 8 of them that just support women in business. So
Wow.
the opportunity for me to learn from a bigger community was amazing. And I took that time to do a ton of research. And then I came across a couple of reports that really started making me frustrated because I started seeing, of course, conditions for women in business. Those were repeated across a lot of reports. But then this one report that I started reading was this one. It's the United States Senate, and this is the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee. So they do a report, or they used to do a report called the Women's Small Business Ownership and Entrepreneurship Report. They did it annually for a while. I haven't seen one since 2023, so I really don't know some of the new numbers. But one line in this report really shocked me, and I'm going to read it directly from this report because I think it is kind of shocking. But this says, according to analysis, if women participated equally to men as entrepreneurs, global gross domestic product could increase by approximately 3 to 6%, adding 2.5 to $5 trillion to the global economy.
Mm.
And that shocked me because $5 trillion is a lot of money.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and I started thinking about that. If women participated equally as men, well, that kind of
Hmm.
bothered me because I didn't like that. I thought, well, women are participating. We're strong. We're bold. Women are creators. We're builders. We have skills. We have passion. Women are participating. And then I had to
Hmm.
really step back and think, wait a minute, this is an
Yes.
economic report. This is not, a violation on our skill and our passion. This
Hmm.
is a economic term. The word participated
Hmm.
doesn't mean are you, like what I would think participating. What it means is, are you making money? Are you adding value to our economic worth? Are you
Exactly.
paying yourself enough? Are you paying others enough? Are you building something that's driving economic money to your community, to your family, to your geographic area? Are you giving back charitably? If your business is not effective and efficient, you're
Hmm.
probably losing some of that. And that's what I call the
Correct.
power gap. The power gap is the difference between what we're making right now as women entrepreneurs and that $5 trillion that we're leaving on the table. And that, Kay, is not just a big number that we're trying to accomplish. That's a number that resets every single year. We're leaving that money on the table every single year. And I think $5 trillion could change the world.
Definitely. We could use it for the
So,
deficit, couldn't
oh
we?
my gosh, imagine what you could do with $5 trillion. Imagine if
Yes.
we could bring that money in and help solve any number of issues that we have out
Hmm.
there. Why don't
Yeah,
we do that?
definitely.
So that's my charge, and it's a huge charge. It's something I'm not going to accomplish probably in my lifetime, maybe. It's something I won't accomplish alone, and it's something that I'm not going to accomplish easy. This is hard
Mm.
stuff. $5 trillion is huge, but
Yeah.
I'm passionate about it because I think women are worth it. Women are capable of it. And I see the money out there. So
Hmm.
that's my goal. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And so that whole participation part also, when you read it to me, and when we talked about it before, the first thing I thought about was actually like the time that women are working. Is there anything where you've seen where they've broken down that time difference between women versus men? Because, we do often wind up pregnant and then taking time off and all those type of things, spending more time taking care of the family versus actually working on our businesses or whatever companies we're in. So, do we actually have to spend more time to get to that 5 trillion, or do you think we can just do it by doing better processes and having better, systems set up for our businesses?
Absolutely. I think you're hitting on exactly the solution there. Okay. I think in order to close this power gap, I think we need to change the environment that women do business in. I think
Mhm.
for many, many years, and I think our predecessors, the women that have walked before us, oh my gosh, amazing, amazing, amazing. And they have carved paths that we are now walking on that are so much easier than when they existed. So absolutely, we have the opportunity now, but I think we need to change the way business is done. And for me, we do that by working smarter, not necessarily working harder. So I think
Exactly.
we got used to as women that we had to work hard. In order to be a woman in business, it was hard. You did have to sacrifice family over business in a lot of cases.
Mhm.
COVID really opened our eyes to that. There were many women. I mean, I remember the corporate, I can't remember what they called it, but the step away from corporate society. 1 out of 4 corporate women left the workplace during COVID, meaning
Mhm.
they quit their jobs. They didn't just change positions, they left. And a
Mhm.
lot of them went back to start new businesses. They got sick and tired of saying, I don't want to work for the same money I was working for. I don't want to be under the same pressure I was under before. And COVID opened their eyes that there were other alternatives. And I
Mhm.
love that because I think those women have really started this opportunity that we can do it different. We don't have to work hard anymore. We have opportunities with AI. You can get a degree from MIT now for free. Like you can do online learning, anything. I mean, there is so much information out there. There is nothing that you can't become an expert in. So we have really reduced that learning curve and really accelerated the opportunities for women. I also see huge amounts of money as I focus on money. I see huge amounts of money left out there for women in the form of business grants. So
Mhm.
that's another big area I've really started to deep dive into is why are women not applying for grants?
Mhm.
Why are we not going after that extra money? And you talked about sacrificing sometimes home or child bearing years. That's
Mhm.
absolutely true with women in business. However, the flexibility is there now that they can actually not have to sacrifice home and family for business. COVID really taught us, though, that women still naturally gravitate towards that. When it comes to a risky situation, women tend to be risk adverse. But when it comes to a health related risky situation, women are 10 times more risk adverse. So when it came to COVID, which was a health, fear based, pandemic, women actually, the statistics actually say that women close their business 20% more than male owned businesses. And if you just think about that, if your business, whether it's a online business or a brick and mortar that you have to physically open the doors for, if you're closing your business 20% more than your male colleagues, your opportunity is limited. So the
Mhm.
time that we have as women, I think we need to make the most of. We need to tap into things like business grants that may not be difficult to apply for, may not be, something you can guarantee or get often, but if we're not even trying, then we're definitely leaving that money on the table. And we need to think about when we want to close our businesses, how can we still make money even when we want to step away from the business? I absolutely value taking time away. And, I also help women with retreats because I personally, that's a struggle for me is taking a vacation and actually stepping away from my business. But it's so important and so impactful because when you come back that much stronger. You come back that much more ready for whatever's
Mhm.
coming next.
Definitely, definitely. It's really key. Those are some very interesting facts. I did not realize that women were 20% more willing to and usually stepping away from their businesses, especially for a
Mhm.
health um, thing. I've definitely experienced that in my own life with my own businesses and professions and COVID. So very interesting to know that we do it at a higher rate than men. So again, that's that participation part right there. If we're stepping away, 20% of us, that's less of us participating automatically just because there's some risk out there that we're not willing to take. I wonder if that's just something that's ingrained in us naturally as the mothers, the protectors, the providers in that way of the next generation that we just want to protect. So we're like, oh no, that's too risky. We have to come inside, kids. Even if you don't have kids, it's just a natural like reaction
Yeah.
perhaps to protect and
Yeah.
sustain life.
Mhm. Absolutely. I think you're right. And I mean, I'm not going to say, I don't want to stereotype and say all women, but
Yeah.
definitely there's women. I believe women are better, are higher attuned to caretaking. I believe that
Mhm.
they're more into providing, safety. And
Mhm.
they're always asking themselves, like, how can I make this situation safer? And how can I make this situation more even collaborative, more supportive for other people. And that's what I love too. I'll throw this in here. That's what I love about helping women make more money is that when we run more efficient and effective businesses, women don't hoard that money. Now, I don't want to say that we go out there and buy, toys and, frivolous things, but women tend to take that money and they pour it back into their family. They pour it back into their churches or their, religious affiliations. They pour it back into their school systems. They pour it back into their communities. And that's what I love about the caretaking and the giving spirit that women naturally have is that that's what they do with money too. They tend
Yes.
to say, how can we make everything safer? And that
Make
goes back
everything
to that
better.
make everything better for everybody, like make it more accessible for others. Women are always thinking, and this is a downside that we don't always think about ourselves first. We do think about others first in a lot of cases. But that's also the beauty of women is that when we get massive amounts of money, we want to help others. We want to better the system. And again, I don't want to be stereotypical and say men don't want to do that. They just have a different way of doing it.
Mhm. Indeed, indeed. There's definitely some great people on all genders that are out there helping and creating and growing and making things better. But it does seem more of a natural instinct in the feminine side. I don't know if it's a hormonal thing or not, but it's always interesting to me. And through my research and study over the years and own experience and practicing and also raising five kids, so girls and boys, seeing how we relate to the world and how we respond and how we show up, it's very, very different for the most part, but also the same. So, so yeah. So I love what you're doing, and I'd just like you to share a little bit more, maybe about how you help the women with grants and things like that to get them to be able to perform more without having to spend more time necessarily pushing and grinding and hustling, because hustle culture is not, it's not it.
No, no, I hate the whole hustle culture thing. I mean, I get it, and if that's your thing, go for it. But for a lot of women, it's difficult and it's hard to balance. Like we talked about, your time is limited. So trying to balance all that is really difficult. So yeah, I love to help other women. And right now I'm doing a balance of opportunities with my business and also through the nonprofit as well. Both of those are really aligned towards closing this power gap. So again, like I said, the closing the power gap is not something I can do individually. So it's also not something that just my business can do. So that's why I also have an aligned nonprofit that has that same mission, is because it's such a huge thing that I need the community support. I also need the businesses support as well. And so between those two entities, we're offering now a number of not only in-person opportunities for anyone that's in the Gulf Coast of Florida. A lot of your listeners probably are not, but we offer a lot of virtual opportunities as well. So we're starting to do, I taught a class just last week on grants, business grants. And these were basic grants, Kay. These are not, big, huge amounts of money. These are $1,000, $500. These are grants that sometimes you don't even have to have a business to even apply. You can have an idea that you're incubating, and you might want to apply for a grant. So I walked through some of my experience and some of the grants that are available, and I'm doing that class now on a monthly basis. So that one will come up again towards the end of December, and we'll be offering that because I think awareness is the first step. If you're not applying for grants yet, it's probably not because you don't want to. It's probably because you don't even realize they exist. You have no idea where to find them. You don't even know the first thing about how do I apply for one of these. So that's the first part, awareness. So the grant class is one that we're doing on a monthly basis. I also offer an opportunity called Collab Up. I believe collaboration, when used as a strategy, it's one of the best revenue opportunities that we have as women in business. So it's all, like I said about my mission and closing the power gap, it's not about doing it yourself alone. It's about aligning with other people that can help pull you forward. And when you align, and I know you talk about harmony, I love that you talk about harmony. I think so much about that. Alignment and collaboration go hand in hand.
Mm.
And so Collab Up is a monthly opportunity to really talk about how are you collaborating? Do you know of opportunities out there? Are you available to collaborate with other women? And so it's an interactive experience. I do some education, and then we just chat about who's willing to look at collaborative opportunities. And so I rotate subjects. I have this month coming up, it'll be about what I call support collaboration, which is our way for women to say, I need help,
Mm.
without saying those words, I need help, because those are really hard, I think, for a lot of women. I think for a lot of humans, it's hard to ask for help. It comes easier for some people, but this month we're going to talk about how do you do that in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're asking for help. And so we do those events, and then next month it'll be about revenue collaborate. It'll be about visibility collaboration. How do you collaborate with others to increase your visibility? And then February's event will be about revenue collaboration. How do you collaborate with others to increase both of your revenues?
Mm.
And so 3 different focused opportunities we have there. So several opportunities online, and they can connect with me, of course, through LinkedIn. And then I'm happy to share invitations to our upcoming events. Those are open to women. They're geared more towards women. They are open to men, but we'll be honest, they're going to have a lot of women topics. So if you're brave enough
Yes.
to show up to a room full of women, we'll invite you along, and you are welcome to attend.
Nice, nice. I love it. The men are welcome, but the
Yes.
women are the goal.
Yes. Yes.
So lovely.
Yes.
So yes, definitely. We'll definitely put your LinkedIn in the description when we're done so that they'll be able to connect with you and get some more information. And we've been doing all of this talking and we have not shared the name of your business. So we know that
That's
you
so
have the
funny.
Powerful Women Collective, but what is the name of your business?
I named my business something very similar. So yeah, Powerful Women
Uh,
Collective is the nonprofit. And then my
mhm.
business is called Powerful Women Synergized.
Powerful Women
So
Synergized.
yep. Powerful Women Synergized is the business. Powerful Women Collective is the nonprofit.
Nice. And is there somewhere that if someone wants to, like, they love your mission and they really want to, like, support what you're doing and they're like, I want to donate to the Powerful Women Collective or something like that, should they also come to LinkedIn or is there a website or how do they connect with you for that type of thing?
Probably, I don't know. That's a good question. LinkedIn is probably the easiest one. I'll be honest, our website's very outdated right now. So
Mm.
although we're doing great stuff, I do have some sponsorship opportunities that we just opened up for our Power Up Your Tech program. So we do have right now some opportunities to get some real good visibility for other businesses if they're interested in aligning with our mission. So I can add those to a LinkedIn post so that other
Mhm.
people can see them, but definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest way because I run both the business and the nonprofit. A lot of times I meet with people
Yes.
on both, kind of as representing both areas, and then kind of it trickles down to the specific opportunity. I'm always about win-wins. Of course, we want donations, but I would rather create an opportunity where we can help support somebody else. I believe so much more in alignment, like you do in harmony. I think that's how we all become successful. So I would much rather have a relationship rather than a donation.
Gotcha, gotcha. That is great and so good to know. And I just wanted to make sure because I know sometimes we're listening to things and we get so deep into it and the sharing of the concepts and the ideas, and it's like, wait, but how do I contact them? How do I get involved? How do I support this mission? So I wanted to make sure we didn't just leave it till the end and then forget about it. So so yeah, definitely. So I love that you're doing so many different levels of things. And like you said, it's not just the grants. You also, through your business, work with people with retreats. Would you like to talk a little bit more about the retreats and how that works? Because I was like, oh, juicy. I love retreats. Let's travel. Let's travel for fun. Let's travel for money. Let's travel.
Yes, I know. And you and I have talked about that. I think you and I could do a whole nother session on like your travel experience. You've been so many different places, some really cool places. So yeah, as I shared earlier, I got into the retreat business not because I have a love for travel. I'll be honest. I was born in Montana and my dad was military. So we went from Montana, bounced all over the United States, did a little bit of time in Hawaii, which, that wasn't bad. Not that any of the other places were bad, but growing up, moving every 4 years didn't give me a love for travel, I'll be honest. So in my adulthood, I haven't done as much. And then I took a job as a CEO of a large membership organization for women in business. And I worked as their CEO for 10 months. During those 10 months, I never took a vacation.
Mhm.
And I thought about that afterwards. And the reason I didn't was because it was new for me. I thought, okay, once I get my feet under me, then I'll take some time off. Of course, we were transitioning programs over the holidays, so I used my Thanksgiving break to transition a whole CRM system and set up everything. I used Christmas break to get all of our programming for 2020, whatever the year was, to do that. So it was like every time I turned around, I was like, let me just get past this thing and then I'll take a break. I ended up quitting that job. It wasn't a fit for me as the CEO. And when I quit, I thought, okay, now I can take a vacation. And then I thought, wait a minute, as a woman in business, what am I doing to help support other women? That's not the way we should run businesses. As a CEO, I had 100% permission to take as much vacation as I wanted. Nobody was stopping me. I was stopping myself. So I made that intentional promise to say, okay, how can I not do that? And right away, and I knew of a partner that we had aligned with that was a retreat company. And I reached out to them and I said, do you have any openings? I'm looking at possibly working for a retreat company. And they said, what experience do you have? And I said, none. And they said, great, we'll hire you. It was hilarious. And not that they've hired me. I actually work independently from them. They're more of a joint partner. But that's the original way it got started was I said, why am I not prioritizing my own time away? And what am I missing? What is the opportunity cost of not taking that time away?
Mhm.
And as you know, when you travel, it opens your mind to new opportunities, not just physically because the things you're seeing, but it unlocks past memories. It unlocks brainstorming that you've had and then you forgot about. And it just can really transform everything you're thinking about. So I love that business. So what I do there is I look for hosts, and particularly it's women, but now we've opened it up to men. There are a lot of men that want to host transformational retreats, and but mostly women. I work with them to see if they have the type of skill that it would take to host a retreat. And the skills are pretty basic if somebody's a speaker, if they're already out there in their business, if they're already an expert or a pretty well learned their craft. A lot of times it's coaches, it might be like I said, other speakers, they might be doing mindset training, they could be doing different types of coaching in any number of areas. But we work with them to say, do you have something to share that would really be valuable? And do you have a community that has enough people that would want to go to a different location to really get a chance to really absorb what you do?
Mhm.
And then we look for, unique locations. We can represent over 8,000 properties. So in over 100 countries. So no matter where the host wants to go, we typically can plan a retreat in whatever area. And then the company does all the retreat planning. So it's a done for you retreat opportunity. That company doesn't want to teach people how to do retreats. And that's why I
Mm.
really wanted to work with them, because again, I don't want women to work hard. If you're already learning how to be a coach and you're already building a business in this area, why step away from that to all of a sudden figure out how to negotiate with a venue, how to figure out how to accommodate multiple dietary restrictions, how to decide what accommodations you want to have for your retreat. I mean, they're to navigate the contracts and the deposits and the room blockings that you have to do. All that stuff takes time away from your business. So this company does all that part behind the scenes, and then they provide an opportunity for the host to be spotlighted as the host. And so then we take them on retreats. And the best part is the transformational experience that happens. Hearing what comes from these retreats, hearing the doors that are opened up, the opportunities with either the people meeting each other or the insight that came from that, that insight I got while sitting on the beach when I was relaxing and not checking all my emails. Um, the
Yeah.
random conversation, on the boat ride to the Statue of Liberty,
Hmm.
when you haven't really thought about your own family's immigration path and history and lineage. And I know you, Kay, talk about generational,
Hmm. Generational
planning.
health, yes, and
Yeah, generational
legacy.
health, legacy. And there's so much of that that you really think about when you're on a retreat, that you really
Yes.
think about, where am I at in my world? Where am I at in my business? And where do I want to be?
Mm.
And I
Nice.
love that. I love that work. We could talk about that, I know, all day. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole transformational aspect of retreats and just getting out of your normal space, getting out of your head, and just being able to put yourself in a new world, a new place, a new position, a new mindset for any amount of time, and can do wonders for your life and your business and your health. So I love the idea of retreats. And I have a little question for you. I actually was talking to someone about retreats the other day in Ireland. And I didn't realize
Mm.
she was saying something about like them paying you to do events there. So since you work with grants and things, have you come across those type of things, like different countries that actually like pay you to bring an event to their country?
Hmm.
Because that's
Yeah,
very interesting.
there's actually several. We're actually, one of the retreats we actually have on sale right now is a retreat in Palm Springs. And that
Mm,
one is following what is called the Natural Health Expo. It's called Expo West. And it's for people that work with brands. So we're talking like these are consumer brands, consumer product brands. So products maybe that might be in a convenience store. They might be in a CVS. They might be in a Target or, a bigger store. So they do an annual conference in Anaheim. And we actually did a retreat in Palm Springs specifically for some of the attendees of the Anaheim conference. And what we found out, our host is in Australia, and she's amazing. You need to look this woman up. Her name is Danica Bunch, and she is a brand strategist, and she is just phenomenal. I'll drop the link for this retreat in your show notes so you can pass that on to your listeners. But what she's doing is she actually is working with a part of the government in Australia who provides grants for people to attend expos out of the country. So
Wow.
that's an example. And I can't remember, it's probably in our retreat write up of her retreat, it might be in there. It might not. Um, but that's one that's specifically provided for, I believe, for citizens of Australia. And so there are definitely opportunities to bring people to different countries. I have not, as far as the retreat company, we haven't worked directly with them, but I would bet our retreat, the owner of the retreat company is totally familiar with
Mhm.
opportunities like that. So yeah, if
Yeah.
that's an opportunity, and a lot of times we work with speakers, we do something I call a speaker springboard, which is basically like if you're going to speak, let's say in Dublin, and your airfare is paid for, but and your accommodations is paid for, but you're not getting paid to speak. Well, you may choose as a speaker to go do that as an opportunity to speak in Dublin.
Mm.
Well, there may be other people that might want to come from your community to come see you speak. So, what we can do is we can create a retreat right after your speaking engagement. So, let's say you speak on Saturday. Well, the retreat might start on Sunday and go to Wednesday, which gives you an opportunity to relax and actually process what that speaking engagement just did for you and your business, and also bring in some people that might want more of you. So
Mm.
people that are either that came to Dublin, or yeah, is that where we picked Dublin? Yeah, it came
Yes.
to Dublin. I lost track all of a sudden of where we were. But they might want to come and see more of you. So that could be an add-on if they're coming to whatever event you're speaking at. Sometimes those are free. And sometimes you as the speaker, because you're not getting paid to attend to speak at the event, you may be able to negotiate from the event organizer some free tickets for some of your people that may want to come from wherever to come to Dublin to attend that event. So they get into the speaking engagement for free. They come to your retreat, they pay to come to your retreat, and then you actually walk away. We guarantee a minimum of, I think it's 2,000, 2,300, 2,400 if you have a minimum of 8 guests. If you
Mhm.
have 8 guests that come and see you, then you have the opportunity to walk away with a little bit of money, which then kind of paid for your speaking engagement. And then you have the opportunity to have that transformational experience from with 8 people from your own community who already love and adore you and want more of what you're doing.
I love
So
that.
that's what we call, yeah, that's what I call speaker springboard, because it adds on. It's another way of working smarter rather than working harder. If you're already
Mhm.
going to do a speaking engagement somewhere like that, or you want to do a speaking engagement somewhere like that, and you don't know how am I going to pay for it, well, maybe you could pay for it through the retreat as well.
Yes.
So when there's opportunity, let's take advantage of it and
I
let's
love that.
find that money. So yeah, if you think there's grant money out there to get you to a country to speak at, find it, let me know, and let's plan
Mhm.
a retreat around it. And let's offset the other costs you're gonna incur, or let's just make you more profitable. You can take that extra money, $2,000 for a lot of people is that opportunity to do something else in their business. It might
Mhm.
allow them to upgrade their technology. It might allow them to buy a program that they've been looking at or hire a coach that they really think is going to help them get to the next level. $2,000 for a lot of small businesses can do a lot.
Nice. Yeah. I love that. The speaker springboard. I'm going to keep that in mind.
Speaker
That's an
springboard.
excellent way to take care of your travel and expenses and things like that when you're not getting paid. I was just thinking about that the other day, actually, because there's an event that's happening in March. And I'm like, who can I find in this area that I can go speak while I'm there? But hey,
Yep.
create a retreat around it. And do you
Create a
normally
retreat.
do 3 days or something or 7 days? Or how do you usually do that one? Is
Yeah.
there a standard
Yeah.
time?
There is. If you're going to go to somewhere like Ireland and you're based in the United States, we're going to want you to do 7 days because
Hmm.
you're bringing your community somewhere they've never been. There's travel time, there's delays, there's, time
Yes.
zone issues, and jet lag, all those kind of things. So yeah, we typically for the international ones, if you're traveling internationally, then
Hmm.
we typically say 7 days. But for the United States, we can do 3 days, or actually we do 3 nights, so it ends up being four
Hmm.
days, and that's
Okay.
a nice amount of time, and it's a good amount of time that people get a chance to see you. and really get some transformation, but then they're not bored. They're not like,
Yes.
now I just wasted an entire week. 3
Yes.
or 4 days is a pretty good rejuvenation. It's a great
Mhm.
chance to reset. You talk about harmony. It's a great chance to I would say reharmonize, recompass yourself,
Mhm.
and then really look at things from a whole different perspective.
Definitely. I love this. I'm learning so much more. I'm like, we already had a great conversation when we met each other and talked about it. It's like now we get to get deeper and get more granular and I get more details and I just love it. I love what you do so much. Um, I was going to ask, what was my next question? There was something else you mentioned. Oh man, I lost it. I should have wrote it down.
That's okay.
Well, while I think about it, maybe you can tell me a little bit more since you were talking about harmonizing and all of that,
Yeah.
how you view harmony in the workspace and working with businesses and, in your daily life. How does that look for
Mhm.
you?
I love that. What a great question, Kay. I love that. So yeah, harmony, that's such a good word. I love that. I think harmony is bigger than just like combining some things. I think a lot about collaboration. That's the combination of things. I also talked yesterday at an event about solidarity. And solidarity is like, kind of that almost that blind faith, that that alignment, that I'm gonna stick by, whatever, no matter what. And then I talk about alignment as well. And for me, alignment and harmony are very similar. It doesn't happen unless the conditions are right. Harmony is for me the combination of many different factors all working in a way that 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 works, that's effective. It's a little bit like synergy.
Hmm.
And I love that because my business is Powerful Women Synergize. And I chose the word synergize because I think when we are doing the right things, we're doing the things that we're really good at, and we're doing the things that the world needs and the world wants, that's alignment. That's harmony for me, is when those three things, all work together and line up so beautifully and almost effortlessly. I grew up in a household where, if it's not, bones aren't showing and blood's not flowing, like, don't let mom and dad know what's going on.
Hmm.
If it's not hard, it's not worth it. I grew up
Hmm.
with all those things. But as I move into adulthood and really get into these years of really looking at making impact, it's really more about ease. It's really more
Hmm.
about flow. It's really more about harmony. It's more about, like I said before, instead of a donation, I want a relationship. Instead of a handout with our nonprofit, we provide a hand up. Because
Hmm.
I think anytime you're just doing it one sided, you're losing the opportunity to benefit somebody else. And
Correct.
that's what I think about harmony. It's all the different forces all coming together in a way that aligns, and it works and it flows and it's easy.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I love about harmony. And I just, that experience, like you say, of growing up, we all grew up with that, rough and tough kind of, what Gen Xers and all those people taking care of themselves and latchkey kids and just pushing through. And yeah, if it's not broken and you can still walk, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
As
Oh
Suzanne
yeah.
Evans says, play hurt. It was her lesson
Yep.
growing up. So, um,
Absolutely.
but but yeah, so we are all getting, I think, into this position as we get older where we're like, what? We can do it a little softer. It can still get done. We can kind of ease and flow with this. We can find our own natural rhythms, which is what I help women with, is really realizing that our bodies do have, these days where it's like, let's go, we look amazing, we feel amazing, let's get everything done. And then, the other part of your cycle where you're like, I just want a blanket and a warm tea, and that's okay. And we've been taught
Mm-hmm.
to just push through no matter what, but it really is good to take that time and relax and reassess and do what you need to do in those downtimes so that when you are in that fire up, let's get it done time, you're clear and you're focused and you can get done what actually needs to be done instead of just like, all over the place because you've been exhausted from pushing yourself so much during the other time. So, yeah, that's what I really love about looking at life and living life through harmony instead of trying to figure out how to balance it all and push through, and resilience and all of that. It just feels so hard in hustle culture now that I'm like, why do we do this? Why did we do this to ourselves? Because we are doing it to
No,
ourselves and we don't have to. But
I know.
I do remember the
I
other question
think,
that I wanted to ask you. Oh, go
okay, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go,
Yeah.
go, go.
No, no, jump in because I don't want you to forget it.
No, I wrote it down this time.
Okay, perfect. No, I was going to say, I think you're absolutely right, Kay. I think a lot of times, and there are women, and I think this goes for men too, that the hustle culture does work. Like if that works for you, do it.
Hmm.
But I do
Hmm.
believe that having micro doses of that intense work is really when it does benefit. I think also I learned that if you're early in your career, you do have to work harder. You do have
Hmm.
to put in more hours. You do have to ask, or, play hurt, not take time off. There's a lot of intensity in the beginning of your career. But I think what happens with a lot of women, I know this happened with me, is I forgot to stop doing that. Like
Hmm.
I got so far into my career to where I had learned everything that it was not an issue of needing more skills. It was an issue of changing my mindset. And I
Hmm.
think we as women have that opportunity that we can change our mindset. We can change how we're creating business. And hustle culture might work for you at points in your career or points in your day. But if
Hmm.
you get into this habit of hustle culture and that's your entire schedule, and you look back and you're like, I went Monday through Friday at just like, you know, 0 to 100, then that's what you have to consider. Is that
Hmm.
really working for you? And is that sustainable?
Hmm. Yes, definitely. There's seasons. That's part of the rhythm. That's part of the harmony. Yes, there is that go time, like you said. And
Mm-hmm.
what do they say? Fail fast, fail forward, like get it
Yeah.
done and find out if it
Mm-hmm.
works, bang on all the doors. So it's not about not doing, it's about doing in a way that is useful for you and making
Mm-hmm.
sure that it fits in and that you're able to sustain it. Because yes, we can go, 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 go until we crash. And we are
Mm-hmm.
crashing and burning. And then become part of that percentage of women that's no longer participating because now you're in bed because you've wrecked yourself. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
we just want to help more women prevent from doing. So, yeah, love that you pointed out that, yes, you do need to go. You
Mm-hmm.
can't get a business
Mm-hmm.
going if you don't get out there and go and push all the buttons and talk to all the people. You definitely have to do that if that is your goal. But you also
Mm-hmm.
have to realize that there has to be some give and take, some places where you do take a break. Like you said, don't just work for 10 months with no vacation. That's not
Yeah.
great for you. It's not great for
No.
your hormones. It's not great for
Mm-hmm.
any part of your body. But we
Mm-hmm.
were running out of time. But I do wanted to ask you because you mentioned like business coaching and things like that. So since you do work with a lot of women and help them with their businesses, I know you have something that you work with women that are under 50K.
Mm-hmm.
And so, is there business coaching involved in that as well as helping them get? I know we talked about helping them getting the right tools and tech they need and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So, do you want to share a little bit more about how that works?
Absolutely. I'd love to. So that is our program called Power Up Your Tech. And the way it started was when I realized that I was working harder because I was using old technology. I was using a laptop that was 12 years old and I could do everything on this laptop, Kay. I could meet with global leaders, no problem on this laptop, work harder, right? And then I realized, wait a minute, what is this costing me? And I looked at the data and the data showed that 30% of your day is spent chasing down errors because you're having defective outputs when it comes to old technology. So it's the number of times your Zoom's not connecting or your whatever's not syncing up with another part. A lot of that's old technology and it's costing you time. And time is money. And then I realized, wow, how much money am I losing? And the statistics say if you upgrade your technology, you have an increase of profitability straight out of the gate by 10%. So if you want to make 10% more on your business, upgrade your technology. And so we created this program called Power Up Your Tech. We collect used technology here in the Gulf Coast of Florida. So we have laptops, desktops, monitors. We just got a bunch of external hard drives. We've got tablets, we've got printers, all sorts of technology that we've collected that's used. We partnered with Best Buy, and Best Buy refurbishes everything. So they wipe it all clean, they upgrade anything that needs upgrading, and they make it available to the next user. And then what we do, instead of handing it, like I said, we don't do a handout. Handing out a computer is helping a woman in business, absolutely. But if we don't address the mindset that comes from, why was I using a 12-year-old laptop? Why did I not stop at 3 years or 4 years or 5 years or 6 years and say, I need a new laptop? Why did I go for 12 years doing that? That's the mindset that has to change. And some of that does come through coaching. So the hand up that we do is we give them the technology, but we also brought in power partners. So these are individuals, experts all over the country. Actually, now we're bringing them in, but also some local ones in the Gulf Coast of Florida that are experts in whatever they do. And they provide skill-based training, they provide coaching, they provide mentorship, they provide hot seat, interactions where they just ask women, what are you doing? Where are you stuck? How can I help? And so we do those in-person classes and then online opportunities to help them really build a more effective and efficient business. We also do something called Make It Happen Monday. So at 8 o'clock Central Time, from 8 to 8:30, we have an online event called Make It Happen Monday. We ask the cohort to all show up. And so far, we've got the women that are participating, they are 100% of the time at Make It Happen Monday. And they get to celebrate whatever they've done the last week that they're making it happen. And it also gives them an opportunity to start Monday off on the right foot. Because sometimes women show up and say, I didn't do anything last week. I really dropped the ball, or I got distracted, or this came up and, I didn't follow through on my obligation from last week. And the women rally around and support each other. So the community is really impactful. The education is really important. The mindset and the training and all the coaching is really, really supportive. And then the technology really helps them really work more effective and efficiently. And
Awesome.
one of the women in the program, I'll throw this in, just restarted a YouTube, her business, and is pushing a lot of content through YouTube and TikTok. And she now has over 600,000 views on the content. She just went viral over the last weekend. So we didn't teach her how to do TikTok and stuff like that. Somebody else can claim credit for that because we didn't provide that type of training, but we might have provided the opportunity to motivate her. We might have provided just that little push to say, you know what, you got this, you can do it, figure it out. And she did. She found a program that specialized in that. And she is going wild right now. She is definitely gonna double, if not 10 times her business in the next several months. And so this is a 6-month program. Women can get in if they're making less than 50,000 a year. And our goal is within 6 months to double their income.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I love it. I love everything you're doing. And I think that is a perfect way to end, letting people know what you can do, even if you're under 50K and you're in the, what is it, the Gulf area, the
Gulf
Gulf.
Coast.
Gulf Coast
Mm-hmm.
women. So if you're in the Gulf Coast, stay connected with Colleen for the next time you guys have a cohort. If you want to get involved in something like that, connect with her through LinkedIn. We'll put all that information in the show notes. This has been an amazing talk. I can't believe an hour has gone by already. We could keep going.
I know. We could
We may have
totally
to do
keep
another
going,
one.
Kay. Oh my gosh, we could absolutely.
Yes.
And even
Yeah.
for women that are not in the Gulf Coast of Florida, if
Mhm.
they're making less than 50,000, there are special exceptions that I can let a few women in that are not in the local area. We've got one woman now that's in Birmingham. And so she's hours away from our area. So she can't participate in the in-person stuff. So if somebody is
Mhm.
listening that wants to participate, that knows that they're not going to be able to participate in the in-person activities, we'll consider an application from out of the area. But we've got limited spots for that.
Awesome. Awesome. That is good to know. I'm glad you added that in there too. Awesome.
Mhm.
Well, um, I thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a great conversation. We've talked about the gaps in women versus men as far as bringing income into the economy. We've talked about coaching and building businesses and harmony and resilience and when to know how to do which and retreats. Lovely travel. We
Mhm.
got that in there too. So we've touched many, different aspects. And I would just like to ask you one final question. I know we're over time, over an hour here, but I really want to know. What is something that you used to believe that you don't believe anymore?
Mm. Oh, oh, that's a good one. I keep a list. Um, okay, so this is one thing I used to believe. I used to believe what I did provided value. And this is a
Mhm.
tough one because this was a hard one for me. Like what I do, I used to believe what I did provided value. I'm working now to believe that it's not what I do, it's how I express what I do that provides the value.
Mm.
And for me, that's important because if I'm the one that provides value, well, then I constantly have to be there. And
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
the only one that can provide that. That's a huge
Hmm.
amount of responsibility. And in order to
Yes.
close a $5 trillion power gap, I've got to let go of that. So I'm
Yes.
embracing it's not what I do that provides value. It's it's the it's how I express what I do that provides
Hmm.
value
Yes.
because
The
that can be
concepts.
replicated. Yeah, that can be scaled, that can be collaborated with. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
and
that
that
can
takes a
live
huge
on
amount of
way
pressure.
beyond you. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that
goes
can
way
live
beyond
on,
you.
right. That can actually tackle this $5 trillion power gap where putting $5 trillion just on my shoulders is it's not even conscionable.
Hmm.
So I love that's something
Yeah.
that I'm changing. But that's
Yeah.
something that I've just recently started changing.
I love that. And I think that's powerful for a lot of us because I think there's a lot of things in life where we feel like I have to do it. I'm the one that does it right. I provide the value. Where it's a lot of it where it's like your thoughts, your concepts, your expression around that is what provides the value. And you can pass that off to someone else and have them do it for you or have them
Yes.
help so that it reaches more people or things like that.
Yeah.
So, wow,
Mm-hmm.
amazing. I love that. And on that note, we will say goodbye to everyone over on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us live. We really appreciate you. And whoever catches the replay, of course, we appreciate you too and hope you get something of value from this. Please leave us some comments, likes, shares so that we know that we're doing something that's of value for you and that it's touching you in the right place and you find it helpful. Thanks again and go forth in harmony.